Welcome to a place where nature takes over the court. Legends face impossible curses, and the world's best players often find themselves fighting for more than just a trophy. They call it tennis paradise, but for some of the greatest to ever pick up a racket, it's been a place of bizarre interruptions and unfinished business. In this video, we're uncovering the stories the highlight reels usually skip, including a stat line of one of the most successful players in history, who not even once stood on this court for a final. The gates are open, the desert heat is on, and the history books are about to be rewritten. Let's dive in.
Game, stat, match.
Imagine you're playing a high-stakes quarterfinal against Alexander Zverev. You're just 2 games in when you realize you aren't just fighting your opponent, you're being hunted by thousands of bees. In 2024, Carlos Alcaraz found himself totally surrounded by a massive swarm of roughly 2,500 to 3,000 bees. They didn't just fly by, they decided to set up a new home right on the overhead spider cam. Alcaraz was actually stung on the forehead while trying to swat them away before sprinting for the safety of the locker room. With the match suspended, the tournament called in a local legend, Lance Davis from Killer Bee Live removal. The crowd watched in awe as Davis, wearing absolutely no protective gear, calmly hoovered the bees off the camera with a special vacuum. He even spent his break high-fiving fans and taking selfies. After a nearly 2-hour delay, the bees were mostly cleared. Despite admitting he was a little bit afraid, Alcaraz returned to the court and dominated, winning 6-3, 6-1. This match is now legendary, not for the tennis, but for the day tennis paradise briefly became a bee paradise. He was one of the absolute elites of the sport and accumulated more titles than anyone else in the Open era, 155 to be exact. While he conquered almost every prestigious stage on the planet, there were a few blind spots on his map, places where he never made it to a single final, neither in singles nor doubles. One of these was Indian Wells. The player I'm talking about is John McEnroe. McEnroe loved playing on hard courts and performed exceptionally well in the US, winning 81 of his 155 titles on home soil. Interestingly, he was actually born in Wiesbaden, Germany. But since he only won 1 singles trophy in Frankfurt and 1 doubles trophy in Cologne, his birth country remained a minor chapter in his career. Perhaps it was because he truly belonged to the New York groove of Queens. Yet despite these massive numbers, he never made a final in La Quinta, the predecessor to Indian Wells. Was he missing the electric buzz of the bigger cities that usually fueled him? Was his tank empty after focusing so much on the indoor carpet tournaments in Philadelphia and Memphis? Or was the setting, the dry and thin desert air, simply not suitable for his touch-heavy game? Whatever the reason, Indian Wells remains one of only 4 major tournaments of the highest categories where Big Mac never reached the final. Do you know the other 3? Drop your guesses in the comments right now. I want to see who gets all 3 right. I'll reveal the full list at the end of this video, so stay tuned. If you think Indian Wells is just another stop on the tour, you haven't been paying attention. They call it tennis paradise for a reason. Nestled in the Coachella Valley, this isn't just a tournament. It's a massive, sun-drenched festival of sport that has become the unofficial 5th Grand Slam. To understand the scale, you only have to look at Stadium 1. With 16,100 seats, it is the 2nd largest permanent tennis stadium in the world, trailing only the gargantuan Arthur Ashe in New York. And fans are flooding in like never before. In 2025, the tournament shattered its own records, crossing the 500,000 spectator mark for the first time in history. That is an attendance level close to the one of Wimbledon. But Indian Wells isn't just about the numbers, it's about the experience. Where else can you watch world-class tennis while dining at a Michelin-starred Nobu? Yes, they have a high-end sushi restaurant built right into Stadium 2, allowing you to enjoy a yellowtail jalapeno while overlooking the match. Then there's the desert factor. The environment here is as beautiful as it is brutal. During the day, players bake in intense dry heat, but as soon as the sun dips behind the mountains, the temperature plummets. This creates a massive challenge for the equipment. The air is so thin and the strings react so differently that players often have to change their racket tension multiple times a day just to keep the ball in the court. It's this mix of luxury, massive crowds, and extreme conditions that makes it the favorite stop for almost every player on tour. But as we've seen with legends like McEnroe, paradise doesn't always guarantee a happy ending. Entering a premier mandatory tournament as a wild card usually means you're there for the experience, maybe to win a round or two. But in 2019, an 18-year-old Canadian named Bianca Andreescu didn't just show up to play, she showed up to take over. Rated outside the top 150 just months prior, Andreescu arrived in the desert as the world number 60. She tore through a draw filled with giants, taking down 5-seeded players on her way to the final, including Svitolina and Muguruza. In the championship match, she faced the legendary Angelique Kerber, a 3-time Grand Slam winner. It was a grueling 3-set war of attrition. At one point, struggling with fatigue and shoulder pain, she looked ready to collapse. But she dug deep, producing fearless tennis to win 6-4, 3-6, 6-4. With that final point, she became the first ever wild card to win the women's title at Indian Wells. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement that catapulted her into global superstardom and set the stage for her US Open title later that year. Her run remains the gold standard for what is possible when tennis paradise gives a rising star a chance to shine. This was actually just one of 5 occasions where a wild card maxed out the chance to win a Masters 1000 or even a Grand Slam. Monica Seles did so, 1995 in Toronto. Goran Ivanisevic famously won Wimbledon 2001. Kim Clijsters claimed the US Open 2009 after an incredible run, and Victoria Mboko won last year's edition of Montreal. When we talk about the record books in Indian Wells, the usual suspects like Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer immediately jump off the page with their 5 singles titles each. But there is another name that deserves to be in that Elite 5 club. A player who dominated the desert in a way most fans completely overlook, Guy Forget. While the big 3 were conquering the singles draw, Forget was building a dynasty in the doubles. He holds the all-time men's record with 5 doubles titles. Between 1986 and 1993, Forget was virtually untouchable, winning the title in 3 consecutive years, from 1986 to 88, and reaching 6 finals in that 8-year span. Winning 3 consecutive doubles titles is a feat Boris Becker is also familiar with. And speaking of him, he and Rafael Nadal are also members of the 5 Club, though they did it with a bit more variety, combining their singles wins with doubles trophies. Oh, and variety is something only a few have mastered better than Roscoe Tanner in 1978 and Boris Becker in 1988, who managed to pull off their double-duty success by winning both the singles and doubles titles in the same year. But the absolute queen of this feat is Lindsay Davenport, who earned that incredible same-year double not once, but twice in 1997 and 2000. Davenport actually holds one of the most staggering records in the desert, 12 career finals in total, emerging 8 times victorious. Federer is right on her heels with 11 finals, including 5 wins and 4 losses in singles, plus 2 narrow losses in doubles. But this overview wouldn't be complete without mentioning Lisa Raymond's unparalleled collection of 7 doubles trophies. And we can't talk about great achievements without mentioning how hard it is to win the Sunshine Double, which means you win Indian Wells and Miami back-to-back. Novak Djokovic didn't just do it. He turned it into a routine, winning the double 3 times in a row from 2014 to 2016 and a record 4 times total. It's this level of versatility that defines a true desert dominator. Whether it's Lisa Raymond's doubles dynasty or Djokovic's historic streaks, these players didn't just visit the desert, they made it their living room. We just talked about the desert dominators, the legends who made this court their kingdom. But the true magic of Indian Wells is that on any given night, a star can be born. In 2024, the world witnessed one of the greatest upsets in tennis history. Imagine being Luca Nardi, a 20-year-old Italian ranked number 123 in the world. He didn't even qualify for the tournament. He lost in the final round of qualifying and was only in the main draw as a lucky loser because another player withdrew. Suddenly, he finds himself on Stadium 1 across from his childhood idol, the world number 1 and 5-time champion, Novak Djokovic. What followed was pure desert magic. Nardi played with fearless aggression, hitting lines that left Djokovic stunned. In a tense 3-set thriller, the kid who had a poster of Novak on his bedroom wall did the unthinkable. He took down the GOAT 6-4, 3-6, 6-3. Nardi became the lowest-ranked player ever to defeat Djokovic at a Masters 1000 or Grand Slam level. It was a reminder that in tennis paradise, even the lucky losers can become legends for a night. We've seen the bees, the curses, and the giant killers. But before we wrap up, we need to look at what's at stake this year. In 2026, the history books might need to be entirely rewritten. On the women's side, Iga Swiatek, already a 2-time champion, could become the first woman in the Open era to win 3 singles titles here. Meanwhile, Aryna Sabalenka is hunting for that elusive trophy after 2 tough finals losses. And watch out for the defending champ, Mira Andreeva. If she repeats her title, she'll join the legendary Martina Navratilova as the only woman to ever successfully defend her Indian Wells crown. Also, it's already 25 years ago that an American woman claimed the Indian Wells crown. Maybe Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, or Amanda Anisimova can turn that around. For the men, Carlos Alcaraz is chasing history to become the youngest 3-time singles champion. But Novak Djokovic is right there, looking to become the lone record holder on the men's side. One big question remains. Can the Italians break the curse? No Italian man has yet won a final here in singles or doubles. But if you followed my recent video about the ATP event in Acapulco, you might have noticed that Flavio Cobolli just ended the curse there. You can check out those interesting bits right here. Could Indian Wells be next? Now comes the moment of truth. The other 3 major destinations, which were cursed for John McEnroe, are the Australian Open, Miami, and Rome. He never made it past the semifinals on any of these tournaments, neither in singles nor doubles. And our quiz answer? It's actually D, Rafael Nadal. While Federer had a 5-appearance streak, Rafa pulled off a pure 5-year calendar streak between 2009 and 2013, alternating between singles and doubles finals and walking away with a trophy 4 times during that run. On that note, if you want to know why Rafa's Acapulco trophy disappeared, check out my recent video about the ATP event in Acapulco. Here's the link to find out. Thanks for watching this trip through tennis paradise. And if you enjoyed this kind of deep dive, please give the video a like or smash that subscribe button. That would help me a lot to provide you further with these crazy stories and statistics. You can also share it with friends, foes, or tennis bros. For this week, I'm out.